Alright, so we're going to teach a hand target. That's today's trick for our January trick challenge. I love seeing the posts that are already coming up. If you haven't taught a hand target before, it's a really easy one to teach. I love it because it's a great way to teach our dogs how to learn and that they can do something to earn reinforcement, that their behavior has effect. So what I'm going to do, I've got some treats. I like something small, and you can see those, small, easy to chew, that's not going to take too long so that we can do multiple reps without our dog getting full or without them having to take a long time to chew. I've also got a clicker, so that's what's going to I've got Barney who's going to help me demonstrate how to teach it. And the clicker just lets the dog know that yes, what you just did was right. So it lets me mark that exact moment that that nose touches my hand. If you don't have a clicker, you could use a verbal marker like yes or okay or good for this as well. All the marker does is helps us be a lot cleaner in our training, a lot more precise in our training. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to present my hand to Barney. Our dogs already have it pretty well established that our hands bring good things. That's what brings them the cookies. So chances are I'm going to bring out my hand and he is going to investigate it. He might look at it, he might sniff it. And as soon as he does that, that's my cue to mark and grab him a cookie. And from there, I'm going to present that hand again and let him try that again. I find the first couple times, and we'll see what he does, but the first couple times it's coincidental. They haven't put together that, hang on a second, I touch this and I get a cookie. What we're going to start seeing is that it becomes more purposeful. So that the dog starts going, wait a second, I get a cookie when I touch your hand. That's what makes that click happen, or that yes or good or whatever you're using. So we'll play it with Barney and we'll see what we get. So one thing I want you to remember is not all dogs are going to respond to this the same way. So I might present my hand and Barney might not sniff it. I can take little pieces of my goal behavior. So my goal behavior is having that big squishy nose touch my hand, right? Just like a nice touch like that. What I could start by, and you wouldn't be wrong, is to mark for them looking towards your hand or moving towards your hand. And then slowly I'm going to select for actually touching my hand. All right, so let's start this with Barney. So they can be a sit or a stand in front of you. I'm going to present my hand. He gave me a nice touch there. I'm going to mark and reinforce that. So I want you to think of the click as taking a picture of the behavior I like. So as soon as I feel that nose touch my hand, I'm going to mark and reinforce. Good. I'm doing a couple on one side. I'm not having my hand too far away from his nose. I want it fairly close. And when I've got some repetitions there, I'm getting a kiss with it, then I can start to move my hand slightly. So can I get the same thing over here? How about over here? How about just above his head? And that was a bit of a lick, not a touch, but initially I might reinforce that. Later on, if I didn't like the lick, I would only reinforce the nose touches and not the licks. So I'm just continuing to change my hand position slightly. Oh, he likes to jump for them. So if I got a wrong answer, and there's really no wrong answer here because he's learning this, but if I presented my hand and I didn't get a touch, I'm going to take my hand away and then just try representing. So rather than leave my hand out there and wait, I present my hand. If he's, good boy Barney, I present my hand, if he doesn't touch my hand, I'm just going to take my hand away and then offer it again, okay? So we'll do a couple more. Good. Nice one. So I think he's got this. I'm presenting my hand, he's touching it fairly reliably. So if you're finding that, you know what, every time I put that hand out there, my dog's going in and touching it, now we're ready to add a cue. So you notice this whole time I haven't said anything. I haven't told him what this is called yet. And the reason for that is at the moment, he has no idea what that is. So if I add the cue too soon, what is it really for? Is it for moving his head closer? What I want it to be for is for that nice squishy nose touch. So Now that I'm getting this fairly reliable behavior, I present my hand, he touches, that's when I'm going to add a cue. So now I'm going to wait for him to finish his cookie, and I'm going to give the cue and present my hand. Touch. Touch. So now I'm just labeling what we already have. Touch. Good. Touch. Dropped our cookie. Did you find it? Good boy. Touch. Good. So there we've added our cue. Touch. Perfect. Go get it, buddy. Awesome. All right, so that's how you teach a hand touch. Again, leave your questions if you have any in the comments. People ask me all the time, what are we teaching this for? This is often one of the first things that I teach when I start working with somebody, and I always get that question, so what is this for exactly? And that's a great question, because it looks like a fairly, it looks like a behavior that, you know, how can we use this? How can we apply it? And the truth is I keep finding more uses for it. I think it's useful for lots of different things. So a couple things that I like it for, you can throw it in there instead of a recall. So sometimes rather than calling my dog, I might ask them for a hand touch. So you can work, right now we're working pretty close to Barney, but when we start to get more repetitions, we can start to increase the distance so that maybe he's going 2 feet, or maybe he's coming across the living room, or maybe he's coming from across the field. So we can increase that distance, and it's just a nice way to vary how I'm reinforcing him and how I'm getting him back to me. I find a hand touch one of those really cheap behaviors that the dogs like, and I mean, you saw how many treats Barney just got. It's a pretty valuable behavior for our dogs. So I find it's one of those behaviors that if I get to a new place, it's a way that I can see where's my dog's head at. Are they in a thinking mode? Are they ready to work? Are they ready to go for their walk? So often that's a way that I'll just kind of gauge and warm them up a bit, is with a couple hand touches. For me, I know if I'm not getting those hand touches, I don't have the headspace that I need. So it's a nice way of me kind of assessing a barometer for where my dogs are at. Another thing that I'll use it for is moving them around. So maybe we're loose leash walking and my dog moves out of position. I can hand target them back to position. Maybe my dog's saying hi to a person and maybe I would like to call them away, or maybe they're getting a little overexcited and I need to redirect them. I can call them to me to a hand touch. I also love this for dogs that are a little bit nervous or shy with people. I want to make sure my dog is, don't knock the camera over. I want to make sure the dog is fairly comfortable with the person, that we've taken some time. And then when they're ready to go say hi, I have that person present a hand target. So my dog goes, touches their hand, and then I click or I mark and my dog comes back to me for reinforcement. So I found that really helpful for our shy dogs, because it gives them a way to go out, say hi, and come back without getting stuck there. Often when we have a problem, the dog goes in and now they don't know how to come out. So that the hand touch just helps redirect that. I've used it before. If my dogs are barking at the window, I can ask them for a hand touch and ask them to go lay down. It's a nice behavior to use to redirect them. So lots of different uses for them. If you have uses for it that I didn't mention, throw them in the comments. I'd love to hear how you creatively use the hand touches. So if you don't already have a hand touch, go ahead and start working on that, and please share your video for progress. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Happy training.